talking about exalted and debilitated sun, how to explain it beyond all the judgments, and how to see it beyond just those placements, but also the higher concepts and principles. So when planets are either exalted or debilitated, there's a special way to explain them that brings about a lot of clarity to the person that you're talking to, and for you to understand these things better, rather than just turning them into judgments, which is the antithesis of good astrology practice and astrological understanding. So in this video I'm going to talk about the sun and why it's exalted in Aries and debilitated in Libra, and how you can talk about this in a way and understand it in a way that is empowering and not just something that's an empty judgment. So the thing to understand is that the exalted placement, the exalted sign, is a place where, and the qualities of that sign bring forth the higher qualities of the planet. Whether the planet is there or not in the natal chart, you can still learn a lot about every planet based on the sign where it's exalted. So you can tell a lot about the sun based on the fact that its exaltation sign is Aries. It tells you a lot about the nature of the sun. Also tells you a lot about the nature of Aries. And also the fact that its debilitation sign is Libra will obviously show you the opposite, and how those qualities of Libra do not support the higher qualities of the sun. Again, whether the planet is there or not is secondary, but of course when you're when you're explaining and translating the sun in Aries or Libra, then this becomes really important. But I talked about this a lot in my first book, The Ascendant, 108 Planets of Vedic Astrology, because I took those exaltation placements and just use them as a descriptor for the planet itself. So if we talk about the sun specifically, we would understand that the higher qualities of Aries bring out the higher qualities of the sun. So again, you also want to understand this. It's not the difficult qualities of Aries that brings out the higher qualities of the sun. It's the higher qualities of Aries because it's the exalted placement. So it's the exalted qualities of Aries that bring out the exalted qualities of the sun. Same way with the debilitated, it's the difficult qualities of Libra that bring out the difficult qualities of the sun. So the reason you see the sun and the exaltation placement and the exaltation sign being Aries is that Aries is the sign where we act instinctively, impulsively. We don't think, we just act and think later. Right? Now again, that's very neutral. You don't want to consider that's good or bad. That's just the nature. So again, as much as you can with astrology, try to get out of judgments. This is just an instinct. This is just the way the sign operates. It's that kind of energy. That kind of energy is going to support certain planetary, functions and goals, and it's going to be detrimental to others. So this feeling to just act impulsively and not think about it really exalts the sun, which is the quality of awareness, consciousness that is connected to the soul's truth and that higher power and that higher goal in our life, that thing that we want to share, that thing that fills us up and makes our life meaningful. The sun is that light within that we want to share, where we're not just acting from some momentary desire or some momentary goal, but where we have a higher purpose. And when we take that life lesson of the meaning of our life and where our life is going, and we trust that enough to just act instinctively, just when you feel that thing rise, act on that, which is Aries. And you just act and you trust that that's the thing you should be following. it exalts the sun. Because we're supposed to trust our long-term vision. We're supposed to trust where things are going. We're supposed to trust that that as long as we're connected to a higher purpose and a higher vision, things will work out. That's the nature of the sun. The sun is that light inside that you want to share. The sun is the most giving energy. The sun gives its life so that gives its light and life so that everything can grow. Consequently, that's the part of you that wants to just share the thing you love the most and see others benefit from it without needing to have it appreciated or reciprocated or anything else. It's just because your nature is to give that thing that empowers you and have it empower others. So when you just instinctively trust that and act on it, that's the highest quality of the sun coming into existence and being realized. Consequently, what happens, is that Aries is that individual who just acts based on instinct and doesn't consider what others think, whether or not people are going to like them, whether or not it's going to be popular, any of that stuff. It's just, I'm doing this. Again, this is why Aries is also somewhat cruel and can also be, somewhat isolating and all of that. But again, that's also the nature of the sun. The sun, when sun areas advance in life, that's exactly what we need to notice. This is why when sun dashas run, or if someone has a really powerful sun, this is their nature. This is that part of their nature. That's that part of your nature, is to follow that relentless vision and not consider whether or not people like you for it or whatever, because often the sun is the stuff that we follow that people don't like. Not because it's bad, but because they might get jealous, or that whole thing where people have this fear of success. The reason people have a fear of success is because of all the people around them who become inconvenienced by someone growing and evolving, and all the people around you who are in your comfort zone will start to say, oh, be careful, you don't want to do that, you have to watch out because you might not succeed, or this or that, or people get threatened by your evolution, and they'll try to sort of cut you down to keep your power manageable for their comfort, right? This is why often what happens when someone really evolves and really develops, they do it at the expense of all the people around them, many times. And you'll start to see who is really on your side once you start to grow and develop, and you start to see how the people around you, your family, your friends, and all those people respond to it, right? And so this is often the thing that makes us, that really makes us stop growing and developing. And yes, this is exactly the kinds of things related to Libra. This is why the sun is debilitated in Libra, which are those lower qualities of Libra are the ones that I just mentioned. The lower qualities of Libra have to do with things like making sure that everybody's okay with what we're doing. Now, the higher qualities of Libra is harmonizing your energy with others and being sensitive to others and all like that. This is an energy that exalts Saturn. I'll talk about that in another video. That energy, the higher qualities of Libra, exalts Saturn. But it debilitates the sun, because again, the sun is not the part of us that, for instance, Saturn is concerned with, which I'll talk about in another video. The sun is what I just mentioned, which is exalted by trusting our power and acting instinctively. Not making sure, is it okay that I'm this powerful? You won't be offended if I develop myself, will you? Okay, because I want to make sure everybody likes me. I want to make sure I'm popular, even things like popularity. In this world, we can see it all over the place. Even like the social media world, where we're all driven by likes and people liking us. The lower qualities of Libra also bring into play things like gossip and, a kind of cheesy surface, glitzy sort of nature. where, we sort of sacrifice integrity for things like glamour and popularity and things like that, where, I better make sure, and vanity and things like that. You see a lot of people online these days in all kinds of areas where, even like their YouTube channels and the other contributions are very much kind of vanity projects. They're so concerned with how they look and all that stuff. And again, there's nothing wrong with that to some extent. You can, if that's congruent with the person's nature, then it is, and it doesn't look cheesy or vain or anything else. But if it's not in alignment with the person, you can see it, because there's a gap between that expression and their integrity. Because the biggest thing that we notice with the sun is we notice the person's integrity and their true soul shining through. The sun, more than any other astrological indicator, has to do with integrity. Integrity is a really important concept. Integrity is something that, again, it's kind of like, weird example, but it popped into my head. It's like, I don't remember who said it about porn. They said, I don't know what it is, I don't know how to define it, but I know it when I see it. And that's kind of like what integrity is. It's hard to define integrity. I can define it, I'll try to define it, but you definitely recognize it when you see it. And that's that someone looks you in the eye and they're sincere and they're not creating a false persona. They're not behaving. There's not all of this cultivated personality. You're just seeing sincerity. That's what integrity is, because when there's not integrity, then there's a lot of behavior. When someone isn't connected to their core truthful self, which is what the sun is, then instead of being direct and being real and having integrity, which is driven by their vision, instead they get into all this behavior and they act differently around, one person they act this way, another person they act that way. There's a lot of acting going on, and underneath all of that is that pure integrity that's always connected to the truth and that has the courage to act on that core essence, that core vitality, which is the sun. So again, what Aries gives, the highest qualities of Aries brings forth the highest qualities of the sun, which is the courage and the power and the will to act on that thing that inspires and lights you up the most. And the lower qualities of Libra show the debilitation of the sun, where we don't trust ourselves, we're not connected to our core integrity, to our truthful power, and instead we're always checking with others. Oh, is it okay? Does this make me look powerful? Does this make me look good? If I do this, will you like me still? I have to make sure that my power doesn't offend you. And that sort of checking with others to make sure that our power and vision doesn't threaten you or doesn't make me unpopular. Because what happens is when people start to become self-actualized, all of the people that know you or that knew you start to notice, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge to them to become actualized. It's a mirror. You're holding a mirror up, like we're always doing. And what's coming back is all those people who aren't actualized and who want to stay at the level they're at. As you start to develop beyond that level, that shared level that they, that level that they share with you, that they're comfortable with, as soon as you start to develop beyond that, they want to pull you back down, because unconsciously it's like, well, wait a minute. If you develop and you grow and all of the excuses I've been making myself and that maybe we've been making together don't work anymore, then what does that say about me? So what happens is when someone starts to become self-actualized, often through work and through purpose, and they start acting through that higher quality of the sun, Again, you have to understand, it doesn't mean the sun has to be in Aries for this to happen. This is the nature of the sun, regardless of where the sun is. So again, you don't just want to say, oh, I have that, I don't have that, so this doesn't apply. It applies to everyone, because it's a quality of the sun. The exaltation and debility is part of this, is a quality of each planet. It's in the planetary chapter, right? And so what it means is that your life course and your relationship with the sun is going to demand this kind of transformation. This transformation outside of your comfort zone with all these people and wanting their validation, and sacrificing that integrity for behavior and glamour and popularity, being willing to set that aside in order to have a higher vision and higher purpose. And when that other thing starts to come back, and you start to get the feedback from those who are threatened by your emergent self, you just push forward. Again, this is that cruel nature of Aries to say, well, you know what, I don't really care what you think. I'm moving forward because I have to act on this. It's too big. And my identity and my self-actualization is more important than your approval. And that's the power of Aries. Aries is about developing the self, the individual. And it can be at the expense of others. This is why Aries is opposite Libra. Libra is about honoring the other person equally to ourself, and often at the expense of ourself. Aries is saying, I'm the only one that matters. And again, it can be extreme, for sure. But the power of the sun is elevated by that energy, whether the sun is there or not. So notice this when you're assessing exaltation and debilitation in a specific chart, but also understand it more importantly as a quality of the planet, regardless of where the planet is. When the sun is challenged in any way, it's this that's going to get challenged. Now, it gets challenged in different ways, like if the sun is in Capricorn and it's aspected by, it's joined Mercury or Venus. Again, these are common because they're often close. There's going to be a challenge to that self-actualization, just in the way I just described it, but it's going to revolve around Capricorn themes and Mercury, Venus themes and whatnot. But you want to understand this both as a specific placement in a natal chart, like when you see it, this is what you're explaining, rather than just judging. Oh, it's exalted, it's good, good. Again, you want to also understand, it could bring problems, and it does bring problems like everything else. Very powerful planets, particularly the sun is a natural malefic, it's exalted in the sign of a natural malefic. It can be very cruel in leaving things and being selfish and having a hard time harmonizing our energy with others. These are all going to be there. Nothing is simple. We are complicated people. Do not look at astrology to be simplistic. There's nothing simplistic about it. It is simple on some level, but nothing is compartmentalized. Don't separate things, because a planet in a sign is just one thing. I'm only talking about a planet in a sign. In fact, I'm not even talking about the planet in the sun. I'm talking about the concept. So you can universalize. First there is the placement, but then there's the principle behind the specific thing as well. But when you see it in a natal chart, or you see the sun debilitated, it's not a death sentence. And you'll know when the sun is in Libra, the person will have this desire to accommodate others and be all that kind of thing. Absolutely. But you will still know, and one of the powerful factors that's called Nichabanga is when the planet's joined its ruler. So you can often see with a debilitated sun, it's often joined Venus. It's often with its ruler, which is a very powerful mitigating factor. But you will still know that the issue I talked about will be there. They will feel it. In fact, they might feel it even more when it's with the ruler in Libra, because then Venus is really dominating. Not only is the planet debilitated, but Venus, the ruler, is there, making them even more accommodating and losing their individuality and that connection to their soul's power even more. And then instead of acting through a sense of purpose and vision and consistent focus, which is the sun, and acting on that and trusting it, they're acting to try to please others and acting through this kind of, compromise and this nature that has this wavering confidence, this wavering, well, I'm not really sure how to do that. Thing to understand with the sun, when it's powerful, we don't act in accordance just with our confidence. We act in accordance with our purpose. Because confidence is always wavering. Even when the sun is in Aries, our confidence is always wavering. Because confidence is actually based on things we've already done and been successful at. That's what you're confident in. You're confident in something you've already done and you know how to do it. Like, I'm confident to make these videos. I talk to people all the time. They're like, oh, how do you do that? Oh, like, I've done it. First times I did it, I wasn't sure what I was doing. Now I know how to do it. But there are things I'm not confident in, things I haven't done, things outside of my comfort zone. And that's what the sun does. This is what the sun does. It pushes us outside of our comfort zone, outside of the things we're already confident in. Why? Because the thing I'm confident in and comfortable in isn't where I'm going, it's where I've been. And the sun is expanding toward where I'm going. And so when we're just acting through our comfort zone, which is also shown by the sun in Libra. The sun in Libra is also acting through our comfort zone. For example, I can do these videos and people approve. I get that Libra approval. So people that do videos, let's say as this kind of example, you can just keep doing that thing to keep getting the approval, which could be the sun in Libra. But if I'm going to move beyond that to a higher growth edge, I wouldn't just be doing things I've already done that are in my comfort zone. There would be other things outside my comfort zone because of the vision, because the vision drives me, not whether or not I'm confident or comfortable doing it. And that's when the sun, that's how we become self-actualized. You're not actualized by just doing the things you're comfortable in, that you have confidence in. You grow in integrity and connection to the self by stepping outside your comfort zone and expanding. And again, that's where integrity happens. Because as you expand beyond your comfort zone, you know yourself on a deeper level. And you trust yourself. And you know that you can handle things and you don't need to be defined by others' approval. So, a lot there. And I'll be doing more videos about each of the signs and the exalted and debilitated placement and principle. So, I hope this was helpful.